Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Hollywood After Dark. It is February 21st, 2021. Tonight we're going to be talking about the Borderlands movie trailer. Warner Brothers potentially eyeing up a sale while spending an ungodly amount of money on movies. You wouldn't think have the budgets that they do, but geez, you wonder why they're broke, folks. Joe Manganiello, if I'm mispronouncing that, I apologize. Finally, lets it go to Deathstroke, and folks, a whole hell of a lot more. It's Hollywood After Dark. You know what time it is. Let's fucking go. Hey, what's going on, everyone? How you guys doing? Welcome back to Hollywood After Dark, February 21st, 2021. Today was a big day. Today was a big day if you happen to be a fan of Cape shit. I feel like maybe today is just, maybe it's too much. Maybe it's too much with what's going on with actors and superhero stuff. We got a big thing, Marvel retooling. I didn't even put that in the intro there. As you can see, we've got these nice little identifying graphics up here, so you kind of know what to expect on the show. Trying something new. As always, I like to do here. Apparently someone said I'm always reinventing myself. Well, you know what? Yeah, you're never standing still, right? A rolling stone gathers no moss, as they say. But I'm going to tell you what we want moss of. We want moss of movie talk, of movie coverage. There's so much going on. So not only that, we're going to go through these stories, we're talking about all this kind of stuff, and then, of course, at the end of it, we're answering your questions from the HWAD Squad. Those are our channel members. A couple of you guys asked us questions today, so we'll be diving into that. But first off, let me say thank you guys very much for the support yesterday. Thank you to Simon for the $5 super chat. Sorry, it was a premiere. I couldn't get to it then, but I appreciate the support, and you guys seeming to like the more focused version of the show, the slimmed down, if you will, version of the show. I know I can get long-winded and I can talk about a lot of other stuff that you may not be interested in, but of course, that's also why we have, a Boulder Talk Radio, which went on for 4 hours last night. So if you're looking for a fun conversation, where we talk about a lot of stuff, be sure to check that out over there. So why don't we just start off with the obvious, right? We have the Borderlands official trailer dropped today. And the Borderlands trailer is one that people have been waiting for because, it finally kicked off. We've been waiting for years about any information on this movie outside of just like the casting and the promotional photo and everything else. We didn't even know what was going to be happening with this movie. And so really, in order to kind of like fully get it, to fully kind of understand where we are, we kind of need to talk about the Borderlands film adaptation, because this actually goes all the way back to initial talks in May of 2015 between Leigh Whannell and Lionsgate's films. Leigh Whannell is the co-creator of the Saw franchise, as well as the film Upgrade, which apparently is really great. I haven't seen it yet, but even though Whannell was initially in discussions to write and direct this movie, which would have been bonkers, in my opinion, his involvement was then later omitted from the project when it was announced in August of 2015. The project then went on to see several different writers like Aaron Berg, Oren Uziel, and then even Craig Mazin had jumped on board at one point in time to work on this. He is behind Chernobyl and the showrunner behind The Last of Us. Having him pen this screenplay would have been really, really, really interesting. However, I do feel, as much as I don't like the Birch family, and if you know Ashley or Anthony Birch, you'll know who I'm talking about, especially in the gamer side of things. Anthony Birch wrote Borderlands 2, and that turned it into a meme factory. And I feel like he would have probably been the guy to do this, but he wasn't. And eventually others did contribute to the screenplay, but then it was announced that Eli Roth was attached as the director in February of 2020. So like almost 5 years after the announcement of this film, they finally got Eli Roth involved. The filming commenced in April of 2021 in Hungary, of all places, and even amid the COVID-19 pandemic. And they did wrap it up a few months later in June of 2021. That's been almost 3 years, right? It's almost 3 years. But part of the reason why it took this long was because the production phase included reshoots, as all films do. All films have reshoots, but this time around, the reshoots were directed by Tim Miller in January of 2023, so a whole year ago. Now, Tim Miller, if you don't know, did Deadpool, Terminator Dark Fate, produces the Sonic movies, and is really, really, really huge into video games. So yes, like, I'm excited to see what Tim Miller is bringing to the table. Part of me, and I didn't bring it up for today, but I'll talk about it tomorrow, is something going on with the John Wick franchise right now with the Ballerina movie. How Chad Stahelski is kind of going to go back and be involved in the reshoots and adding more action to that film, that spinoff of John Wick. And the reason why that's important here is because Birds of Prey had the similar thing. They needed, this being Warner Brothers, needed someone to come on in and really spice up, spruce up, if you will, the action. And that was Chad Stahelski. He did all of that with Birds of Prey. So it's kind of like, this is what he does. He's a stunt guy. He's an action guy. Everyone knows his action choreography is awesome. So they're going to bring him in as a ringer. And in this case, Tim Miller can also do a lot of action and can do a lot of visual effects for probably like on the cheaper side. And that's probably one of the reasons why they brought him in too. But again, Eli Roth was out of this, not because anything happened with Eli Roth, but he had other commitments. This, of course, is, Thanksgiving, which is now on Netflix in February if you want to watch a grindhouse horror movie that I still need to see. I hear it's really good. So let's talk about the trailer in and of itself. It's a pretty bonkers ride all the way through, to be fair. Kevin Hart, Ariana Greenblatt, Jamie Lee Curtis. You've got Jack Black as Claptrap. And, obviously when he voices a video game character, yeah, he's going to probably be up for a bunch of awards and a lot of people are going to be happy to see it, quite unlike Chris Pratt, to be fair. But anyway, Pratt did good with Mario. His Garfield sounds kind of like Chris Pratt, but whatever. I'm not too worried about it. But in this particular case, the movie is going to be just wild. Cate Blanchett, it's kind of weird, to be fair, having a movie based around a video game franchise featuring largely older actors outside of Ariana Greenblatt, who in and of herself, she's had a hell of a ride just being, I think she's like 17, and she's done a lot for being 17. And this is just going to be kind of a bonkers out there wild ride movie. They're going to probably have guns, lots of guns, bazillions of guns, which is what Borderlands marketed itself on as a game franchise. However, they are still going to focus on the key idea of getting to the vault. But what I really, really, really wonder is Handsome Jack going to make an appearance? Like, does this have does this tie in to the original game? Is this going to be more about number 2, number 3, the pre-sequel? Like, where in the Borderlands mythos does this movie take place? That's something we don't know yet. But obviously, as we get closer to its release, I think we're going to find ourselves really diving into some pretty cool stuff in regards to that. And I do hope they really expand on the lore, because even though I don't want to give Randy Pitchford an iota of a cent of anything, I hate that man. Alien Colonial Marines is just go look that up. All right. Especially because of Borderlands 2. That being said, this one looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, and yeah, I'm going to go check it out. I'm going to go check it out because it looks like it's going to be just something to kind of just, eat popcorn and just watch a bunch of people get blown away with really over the top weaponry without taking itself too seriously. And maybe 2024 is going to be a year where we need all of that. We're only a month and a half in, and it's already intense, especially if you follow anything involving politics. So let's bring on the crazy over the top wild ride that's going to be Borderlands. It comes out in August, and right now it's definitely high on my list of things to give a crap about. Now, speaking of things to give a crap about, Helen Mirren finally says the quiet part out loud in regard to the Oscars, saying here, you can't get upset about Oscar snubs because can you even remember who won last year? And the truth of the matter is she's absolutely right. I mean, Helen Mirren is an Oscar-winning actress, right? And she's been around for a long time. She has a storied career. She is very well respected. And in this particular situation, she has a connection to Barbie because she is the narrator to Greta Gerwig's Barbie, and she shared her perspective on the film's Oscar snubs with Entertainment Tonight. Now, despite Barbie receiving 8 Oscar nominations, including Best Picture, it did not earn nominations for Gerwig as Best Director or Margot Robbie for Best Actress. Margot Robbie did get nominated in regards to the Best Film category because that's the producer side of it, and her Lucky Chat Productions is the company that brought the movie to fruition, which is why she's not getting that. But Mirren did emphasize the importance of not dwelling on such omissions, highlighting Barbie's historic success at the box office as Warner Brothers' highest grossing film ever with $1.4 billion worldwide. Her direct quote is this, and I can't do a Helen Mirren, and I didn't program an AI to do it. Maybe I should have, but she says, "You can't get upset about things like that, honestly. What is fantastic is that Barbie was the highest grossing film that Warner Brothers has ever had in their lives. And do you remember who won best film of the year before last?" No, you don't. I don't remember what won last year. What won last year? Was it the Parasite was a couple years before that. What won? No. Last year was Everything Everywhere All at Once. That's right. Last year was a year of A24. But she's not wrong. She's not wrong. Okay. In the last 5 years, the viewership ratings for the Oscars have fluctuated largely with the general trend of the decline. In 2019, the viewership was at 29.6 million, while in 2020, it dropped to 23.6 million. The 2021 Oscars saw a significant decrease in viewership with only 10.4 million people turning in. COVID was a big factor for that one, right? But however, in 2022, there was a rebound with 16.6 million. And then last year, the increase jumped to 18.7, largely, I believe, that had a lot to do with people wondering if there was going to be a Will Smith slap part 2. If they were going to bring in, Chris Rock and Will Smith and just have them go to town on each other. They didn't do that, which is a bummer. That would have been funny to see. But that being said, the Oscars have largely been irrelevant. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. We know, if you know anything about the industry, you know that the Oscars are largely just there. Largely. Just for glad handing each other. I know I've talked about this before. I used to work for a place called Mark's Garden. Mark's Garden is the flower shop to the stars. It really is. And I would deal with celebrities all the time, man. And it's just all egotistical nonsense is all it is. It's all egotistical nonsense. And that's really one of the reasons why the Oscars largely is going to end up really just being, like something no one cares about. Barbie being snubbed for Best Picture or for Best Director and Best Actress puts the entire pressure not on Ryan Gosling for Best Supporting or America Ferrera for Best Supporting or Greta Gerwig for Best Adapted Screenplay, right? Or Billie Eilish and Phineas from for whatever song that they did, even though I'm Ken is a way better song than the one that they're winning all these awards for. But the fact that it's up for Best Picture and it's snubbed on the two that you would think it's going to get is going to push viewership. I personally think it's something that they have done as a way, legitimately, as a way to try to bolster viewership and do that in the slimiest way possible. And that, of course, leads me to my own slimy little way of getting attention. Have you guys seen any of my Podio commentaries, right? That's a big way to support this show. If you don't want to become a channel member, which I would hope that you'd want to help and support Podio commentary, where I talk about movies and I talk about shows and everything else. And my last one that I did was Has Been Hotel. Fun show, talked about that. I'm going to be talking about more movies coming up. Probably going to be doing something along the lines of like maybe the Expendables franchise or like the Underworld franchise. Going through a bunch of movies. There's a bunch I want to watch. I've got a whole bag of about probably 80 4Ks and Blu-rays right behind me that I need to make my way through. So if you want to support Hollywood After Dark and support this channel, check out Podio Commentary. You can sponsor an episode and get me to watch a movie that you want me to see. And of course, that's a good way to do that. And that's my pitch for the mid part of the show, because let's get on to talking about something maybe a bit sadder. Maybe a bit sadder on this one. Okay. I like Joe Manganiello quite a bit, but he has now finally come out and he says that James Gunn said to let it go when it came to the future of Deathstroke. That's what we know here. So Joe Manganiello did reveal that he will not be reprising his role as Deathstroke in the DC universe, as per a conversation with filmmaker James Gunn. Not only filmmaker James Gunn, but buddy James Gunn, friend James Gunn, compadre, amigo, hermano, right? Just buddy Okay, Manganiello is a big friend of not only Peter Safran, but James Gunn, and understands that this is something that is going to be altering and going to be changing. Okay. And so look, he did talk to them about trying to bring in his Deathstroke to the DC franchise, talking about the possibility of returning to a role. He was asking them about this, right? He was like, hey, can I work on this? And they basically told him to kind of let it go. He also mentioned that there was a scrapped idea of developing a graphic novel series based on his screenplay for a Deathstroke origin movie. Now think about that. He wrote the script for a Deathstroke origin movie that Jim Lee has expressed interest in turning into a graphic novel. But one of the reasons why he didn't do it, well, you know, I'm gonna let him, his own words say it here. His quote is, James Gunn is my buddy, and James and I had a conversation about it because Jim Lee over at DC Comics wanted me to create a graphic novel series based on the screenplay I wrote for the Deathstroke origin film. That when they were dismantling the DCEU, that went to the wayside as well. Jim read it and wanted it to be a graphic novel series, but no one could assure me that if it garnered the attention of directors and producers, that I couldn't be attached. So I had to let it go. James Gunn was just like, let it go. Let it go. You can't hold me back anymore. Let it go. Let it go. I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm committed to finishing this bit. I know that I sound like a big steaming pile of shit. But I mean, look, it's true. It's true. He was told to let it go. And that's for the best. It's time to move on. It's time to let it all go. Because the DCU is definitely in a place where things are changing, as we're going to talk about in an upcoming story. And it's not just that. It's not just them that's having the issues. Marvel themselves is currently in the whole point of trying to rechange everything. They're trying to retool everything. Hollywood Reporter dropped this today, how Marvel is quietly retooling amid superhero fatigue. Now, I'm not one to make the claim that superhero fatigue is a real thing. I don't believe that it is. I believe that it's just an overabundance of quantity that has had some middling quality to it, but overall not as bad as a lot of people out there are trying to clutch their pearls and faint on their couches about. I always think that's a load of shit, and I've been honest about that. I've been true about that, right? You may not like everything that they do, but God damn it, they're consistent with putting it out. And after all of these years of all of these companies promising things and then just going like, well, you know, we just decided to not do it. They've decided to do it. They've kept going with it. And that we should be really, critical, holding their feet to the fire over things that aren't good, but acknowledging that they haven't given up. And I think that's the biggest factor here. Anyway, Marvel Studios, after navigating a challenging phase, marked by box office disappointments and public relations hurdles, Jonathan Majors being a key one, is on the path to recovery and reinvention. The journey began with a stumble as Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, envisioned to propel the franchise to new heights, instead initiated a series of setbacks. I like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. I've watched it a number of times now. I quite enjoy it. It's like a campy, almost like science, like 1950s sci-fi kind of Star Wars-esque take on that stuff, more so than James Gunn's like Guardian, which is more like that's more like, I don't want to say Kubrick. It's really not. It's more space opera, space fantasy as well, but the vibe of Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania for me was pretty cool. Anyway, but look, this period of turbulence was a deviation, which is a nice way to say it, for Marvel's long-standing success streak, which had been consistent for a decade and a half. Think about that, right? Like, I'm talking about that. They've been consistent for a decade and a half. They've been winning and winning and winning all that tiger blood for 15 years. But they get one little setback and everyone's all losing their mind over it. It's funny. It's funny. Because it's really not as bad as everyone is making it out to be, but whatever, man. Apparently I'm in the minority on this one. But despite these challenges, Marvel has witnessed significant triumphs recently, most notably with the Deadpool and Wolverine Super Bowl trailer, which broke records by garnering 365 million views in the first 24 hours. This achievement along with positive reception to the casting announcement of the Fantastic Four with a 1960s backdrop, signals a potential revitalization for Marvel. The unveiling of the Fantastic Four cast, featuring Pedro Pascal, Vanessa Kirby, Ebon Moss-Bachrach, and I'm saying that wrong, and Joseph Quinn, is particularly poignant given the team's historical significance within the Marvel universe. That is a big deal. The casting, I don't necessarily feel is like the most inspired, to be honest with you, but at the same time, it's like it could be worse. You know what I'm saying? It's not bad. I like Pedro. You know, I would much rather see him in the Mandalorian movie rather than the Fantastic Four. Vanessa Kirby is okay. You know, I don't know. She always plays kind of like a rigid character, whatever I've seen her in. So there's that. But again, it is big, and that did do really well. That and Deadpool and Wolverine pretty much back to back, like were big injections of awesomeness. Never mind the announcement of the X-Men 97 cast and the trailer of that, which revives the cherished 1990s animated series, did set a Disney Plus record for the most successful animated series launch, indicating a resurgence of interest behind Marvel's offerings. Like I said, Marvel has never been in a position to where anything is really terrible. It's just things could be recalibrated because, yeah, look, there are growing pains, right? They went so many years just kind of nailing everything, firing on all cylinders for 15 plus years. If there's a setback, it's not the end of the world, but it's also not, you know, like it is something people are going to like freak out over because they care. I think at the end of the day, it really is because they care. You have people that are trying to, you know, like be jerks about it and whatever, but largely everyone pretty much cares. But anyway, Marvel Studios is recalibrating creatively under Kevin Feige's leadership, which is nice because Bob Iger isn't tossing the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I mean? Like he is the goose that lays the golden eggs. You don't mess with that. You don't F with that. Okay. But right now there's efforts that Kevin Feige is doing. They're including reshoots for Agatha Darkhold Diaries and strategic script refinements for Fantastic Four and Thunderbolts, a film that should have already been filming, but is currently still in the scripting phase. These internal adjustments reflect a broader strategy to enhance the quality and relevance of Marvel's cinematic universe, as well as their television outputs. The significant challenge to Marvel that they're facing right now was the need to revise the storyline for the upcoming Avengers movies due to all the legal hoopla and the legal issues involving Jonathan Majors, who was, as we all know, initially cast as Kang the Conqueror. But yeah, I mean, but following his legal issues, following the conviction for like, what was it, it was a felony, like it was a physical assault, right? It was a low thing with that. Anyway, not low. I don't want to minimize it, but it is what it is. Following Major's legal troubles, Marvel's decided to rewrite those movies to either minimize Kang's roles or remove the character. In fact, at this point, Avengers 5 has removed the Kang Dynasty name from it. And the rumor is that they are getting rid of Kang entirely, focusing on somebody new. Is it Doctor Doom? That's what everyone says, but I don't quite know. Now, this decision impacts the narrative arc that was planned for the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But not only that, Marvel is adjusting its television division to give more autonomy to showrunners and addressing the mixed reception for recent series like Secret Invasion. This reorganization aims to refine Marvel's storytelling approach to ensure a higher quality of content. Disney CEO Bob Iger has also announced a strategic reduction to Marvel's output, emphasizing quality over quantity. Except for the fact that while there's only one Marvel movie this year, there's 4 scheduled for next year and 4 scheduled for the year after that. So it kind of really, really makes you wonder exactly what they're up to over there, because, you know, they may want to reduce the output, but they know that it's still their number one moneymaker and they have to keep playing it. And so, yeah, figure it out. Do your strategic recalibrations. Make it so the audiences actually care again. And that's good. I think audiences care. But I think they feel like there hasn't been enough of a build up to another villain, right? The problem though is once you build up to something as awesome as Thanos, once you build all of that up and then you have to rebuild the process again over the span of 5 or 6 years or something, that's a lot for people to like really wait for, if that makes any sense. But Marvel will ultimately be fine. It's Warner Brothers, on the other hand, that might be in a bit of trouble, as well as potentially a sale. So here's what the Variety is reporting today. Warner Brothers spends big. Joker 2 budget hits $200 million. Lady Gaga's $12 million payday. Courting Tom Cruise's new deal, and more. Yeah, $12 million for Lady Gaga and Joker 2, but there's more to it than just that. Right now, what we know is that Warner Brothers Motion Picture Group leaders Michael DeLuca and Pam Abdy did meet with Tom Cruise in London to explore potential collaborations, marking the start of their strategic partnership. They've known Tom for quite some time. Actually, I believe it was DeLuca that talked Tom Cruise into starring in, Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia as that self-help guru character that we all kind of make fun of now, I guess. But either way, they go back a real long time. Right now, they've considered several projects, including a sequel to Edge of Tomorrow, which, as I kept saying on Twitter, don't give me hope. Don't give me hope. Don't give me hope. Don't give me hope. I want that real bad. I want that in me. Unprotected, no lube, just give it to me. That's what I want. Anyway, as well as Quentin Tarantino's The Movie Critic, which might also feature Tom Cruise in that movie as well. But right now, The Movie Critic does lack a distributor, but has generated a lot of interest from major studios, including Warner Brothers, which is weird because it's Tarantino, right? So Sony did Once Upon a Time. Lionsgate, I think, did Inglourious Basterds, or was that Universal? I think that was Universal, but he's worked with everybody. At this point, this is Quentin Tarantino's like final movie. Do you know everyone's going to come out for it? Okay. So like, it's so weird that no one's bought it, including Warner Brothers. But when it comes to Tom Cruise at 61 years old, he does continue to dominate the box office, which is a status that has been bolstered heavily by the success of Top Gun Maverick, which grossed $1.5 billion worldwide, as well as Mission Impossible, which, while not as big, this last one still did quite well. But beyond action roles, Cruise is keen on working with distinguished directors, again, reminiscent of his earlier career phases where he worked with Spielberg and Scorsese and Kubrick, but he notably hasn't received an Oscar nomination since his performance in Paul Thomas Anderson's Magnolia, which is, again, why I brought that up beforehand. But a partnership with Tarantino could offer Cruise both commercial success and that critical acclaim. Remember, it was Tarantino bringing in John Travolta as Vic Vega, Vincent Vega. Sorry, Vic Vega was Michael Madsen from Reservoir Dogs. Don't kill me, Tarantino fans, okay? But bringing him in as Vincent Vega, that revitalized Travolta's career. By the way, you know he just turned 70 the other day? 70. Pulp Fiction is 30 this year. He was 40 when that movie came out. He is 70. That makes me feel old because I'm 42 next month. Anyway, however, the competition, particularly from Sony Pictures, which does have a strong relationship with Tarantino following Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, does present a bit of a significant challenge for DeLuca and Abdy. Since assuming the leadership at Warner Brothers in July of 2022, DeLuca and Abdy have pursued high-profile talent, evident in deals for Anderson's next movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio, with DiCaprio earning over $20 million. And a unique vampire movie from Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan, granting Coogler copyright after 25 years. That's whole franchise they want to build with those two guys. And then that all goes back to Coogler in 2049. Okay. Anyway, look, these moves ultimately reflect a strategic decision to invest in top talent influenced by Warner Brothers. And this is something that Zaslav is really trying to push as a directive to secure the big names at the studio, because the strategy is seen as a larger part of a broader effort to enhance the studio's value in anticipation of a potential sale, merger, or acquisition with NBC Universal cited as a possible contender once Warner Media and Discovery's stock lockup period concludes in April. Because that would be 2 years since Warner Brothers Discovery became a thing. And we all knew from the get-go that Warner Brothers Discovery was just a stepping stone for David Zaslav to find a way to put all of this content, all of this stuff onto somebody else in order to seek a massive financial payout. Because that's all he really cares about is the money, despite all the other BS that he has said. His listening tours were bullshit. Everything he's done is bullshit. The best move he's made is hiring James Gunn, and even that is something that a lot of people are still kind of like about, simply because Superman right now is not a character that I think has any kind of significant in regards to like pop culture anymore. In fact, when I talk about that, I think like the budget for Superman Legacy is going to be less than the Joker, which right now the investment in the Joker sequel, which is directed by Todd Phillips, has a budget soaring up to $200 million, as I previously mentioned, for their roles. Joaquin Phoenix is getting $20 million to return as Arthur Fleck in the movie, and Lady Gaga is getting up that $12 million to portray Harley Quinn. And it doesn't matter, despite the financial success of the original Joker film, which did pull in over $1 billion, which was just last year, ousted by the success of Barbie. The sequel's escalated budget and inherent risk of musicals raise the question about fiscal responsibility, especially in light of the studio's $40 million loss on the movie, The Color Purple. So think about that for a second. The Color Purple is a musical. It's a remake of a beloved classic from the 1980s with Whoopi and with Oprah, with Danny Glover, directed by Steven Spielberg. The movie came, the movie went. Mean Girls is another musical that really did pretty well. It has done well, but it threw audiences off at first simply because they didn't know that it was a musical. The Joker was listed as a musical when it was first announced, so much so that they started pulling it back, scaling it back. No, it's not a musical. It's not, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? It ain't a musical at all, you guys. But they kept saying they're now trying to distance themselves from. But the reality of it is, no, it very much is musical. And that's just where we find ourselves. But that is crazy to think about. You know, all this money going out, right? The $190 million for Dune's budget, $300 million for the Penguin series, $200 million for Joker. It's like, can they make the money back? And like, again, all of that money is going out to established franchises that are going to be able to pull in that kind of cash. Superman Legacy, we haven't had a Superman movie now in 11 years, a standalone Superman movie in 11 years. The character has been largely mired with controversy surrounding Zack Snyder's portrayal of him, which I think is great. But people out there simply seem to act like they don't want that version of Superman, but they want the Boy Scout version, which is not going to track well with the American public, especially when you look at characters like Homelander and Omni-Man, which are largely evil Superman variations, but are wildly popular. There's a reason they're both in Mortal Kombat 1, a company that has Warner Brothers characters, because it comes out through Warner Brothers games, and they still didn't put Superman in that damn thing, nor has Neversoft even made Injustice 3. I'm tired of arguing with people about the inefficacy of Superman as a character. He's not it. Stop focusing on him. Batman is your damn moneymaker. Harley Quinn and the Joker, that's your damn moneymaker. Focus there, build off from there, turn Superman into the character he's destined to be, which is a B-tier sidekick to Batman. I'm not making that up either. Let me give you a quick rundown on why that is. I talk about this all the time on streams and whatever, but Batman is a character that has reason to be lost. PTSD about watching his parents be murdered, all the years of fighting crime without actually putting a dent into it in Gotham. He's bitter, he's cynical, he's old, he's jaded. But here comes Superman, a character who cares about life, who cares about justice, who cares about all of the things that Batman seemingly has forgotten. It is through Superman as a sidekick character to open up Batman's eyes, which is basically what happened in BVS, and one of the reasons why it was as good as it was, and the same with Justice League. That's something Zack Snyder fundamentally understood. And I think, quite frankly, it was the best interpretation of it that we've seen. Because otherwise, oh no, only kryptonite and magic can hurt the Man of Steel. Oh no, it's just so boring. But that's my take on it. And of course, you might disagree. But I do want to know your guys' thoughts and your guys' opinions on a lot of this stuff. So obviously what we've got here is I got the HWAD Squad. So if you happen to be a member of the Hollywood After Dark Premium, which is the channel membership here on the channel, you guys can ask questions. So we've got a couple of them popping up right away here. Spherical Man asking, I've heard about the rumors that Paramount Plus isn't doing so well and is considering merging with Peacock. If this is true, then isn't it a conflict since Paramount Plus has CBS content and Peacock has NBC content? A more likely merger to me would be either Paramount with Shudder, Apple TV, or Amazon Prime. Not gonna lie, if Paramount Peacock merger happens, I wouldn't mind calling the app Paracock. And then Jess here says, what do you think about the possible merger of Paramount and Peacock? Is it PP Plus or Mount the Cock? Yeah, no. As for Spherical Man's question about the content being with different owners, right? CW was, it was Fox. Oh no, it was Warner Brothers and it was NBC and it was, right. That's what it was. It was Warner Brothers and it was NBC. And they co-owned the studio, right? It used to be the WB, then it was the CW, and that's indicating that it was multiple studios that just owned it, and then they put their content out there. But largely, it didn't make any money, which is why they sold it. Even though I think each party still has a percentage stake in the CW, it's largely owned by, I think, Nextel or something. I think they bought it, or some other telecom company bought it out. So it really doesn't matter as long as they work the deals, the licensing agreements, and they figure out a way for everyone to get paid based on the subscription model, then it's going to be fine. But I think calling it Paracock or P-Mount or whatever, I don't know. Either way, both names, I mean, Paramount Plus is not so bad. Peacock is it's a laughable name. It's a laughable name. It's a terrible, terrible name. But going back to this here, we got Blue Boy 214 saying here, with Warner Brothers possibly merging for the umpteenth time, when are we going to see this stop, or will there be any regulations to this? I'm just so tired of the mergers ever since Disney bought Fox. So, I mean, I understand not being the happiest about Disney buying Fox. I get that, right? I mean, it's, $73 billion and it's a whole bunch of chaos, right? I'm actually okay with that merger, largely because I feel like 20th Century Studios is now in a space where it's actually putting out a lot of decent content, and it has a lot better executives behind. I mean, I do wish Peter Rice was still around. But when it comes to these mergers, this is just what happens when everything is publicly traded and the streaming bubble is bursted. These companies need to find a way to stay afloat. They need to find a way to keep their shareholders happy. Well, if you can't do that, then you got to close. Well, you're not going to close. You're going to merge, and those stocks are going to get a great big payout, and then the shareholder is going to be happy, and then the new owner is going to have to worry about the same damn thing. It literally is just part of doing business. Unfortunately, that's just the case. I'm not the biggest fan of it. I don't understand it all entirely. I could even be getting this part wrong. I'll admit that. But I feel like it's just these mergers are going to keep happening because we have seen the proliferation of these studios and these companies being overtaken by tech bros and telecom companies that are all about the merging and because that's their business model in many ways. So that's kind of why we're going to keep seeing it. It's never going to go away. As long as streaming is a thing, it's never ever going to go away. But that genie has been put back in its bottle, so it's going to stay there. And then finally, Dadpool says, do you think with Marvel removing Kang from the title, the movie will be Doctor Doom storyline, or will they title it something else? I wish I knew what Marvel was up to. I want to be surprised at this point. So for me, I'm not in the same boat as everybody else on that one. Like, I feel like in many ways, it's kind of like, how do I say it? Like, I don't know what they're going to do. I don't have an answer for you. It could be Doctor Doom. That's been the rumor that it's Doctor Doom. I think it's too early for Doctor Doom. I think they should just recast Kang. All right. Again, I feel like the average general public don't give an iota of a shit about the Jonathan Majors situation. Just recast him. Give us John David Washington as Kang. But that is also kind of like, again, that may be a bit of an insult to John David Washington. He's a fantastic actor. Would he want to step in the shoes of a character that's been as maligned as this one? Again, even though I don't think many people know about it, I think people have talked about it, like in certain circles. And so you're going to see a big social media uproar about it. And he may not want to touch that. In fact, they could have floated that character recasting out to a multitude of people and no one wanted to jump on it. But then my question becomes, did they talk to Terrence Howard? Because I'm pretty sure he would do it. If anything, just for payback. But that is all the time we have for today, guys. Thank you so much again for tuning in. If you have any questions, leave them below. You can join the channel membership and ask questions in our member mailbag, which is a name I'm stealing from somebody else because I have nothing else in my brain right now to name it, for the HWAD squad. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Thank you all so much. Have yourself a great day. Thank you again for watching, and peace out.